Hello and welcome to Zerocarbonista Series 7, Don't Panic. I'm Ian Collins, and this is your number one go-to environment-based podcast. If it's green, it is in. And we've got to clear this up firstly, Dale. Number one, hello. Haven't seen you for 10 years, it seems.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, I think we had a month off, didn't we? And then we spoofed that we were still around with some greatest hits. I shouldn't keep saying
I thought I listened to them. I thought I was actually there.
As you were when we made it.
That's right. Second one, Don't Panic. Why is this series called Don't Panic? What's it all about? And what should we not panic about?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great place to start because we ended last series without a title for the new series, didn't we?
Did.
We put it out to the world, what should we call it and stuff. I'm not sure if we got anything sensible back. I can't remember. But it just occurred to me, while I was away, there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. You've got, Trump saying that windmills affect whales. You've got Musk coming to Britain to create his white power company, allegedly, although that's a name I suggested. And all the crazy shit he does. You've got the rise of the anti-net zero agenda, Farage and Badenoch jumping on that bandwagon. And then, and amongst all of that, you've got the most bonkers weather and all kinds of climate-related outcomes. It's like a maelstrom of shit. I don't know.
Well, firstly, huge congratulations on the first house point for the phrase maelstrom of shit. I think that goes down straight away into the corridor of recognition. But secondly, so are you saying then, despite all of this nonsense, don't panic?
Yeah, because I think that's the theme of our work, right? We talk about these big bad things that are happening. We talk about these things that people might be worried about. Sometimes we lift the lid on and we say, look, it's not like that. China's a great example. Oh, what about China? Our narrative is, look at the facts around China, for example, a green energy superpower. They're going to get to net zero before we do for sure, and all that kind of stuff. So I think the theme of our work is demystifying, myth busting and all that kind of stuff. And so the overall, for me, message of the series is going to be, don't panic. We gotcha. Let us explain it.
Yeah. Well, let's start with an interesting area because this ties in with a couple of things. Your diary, which each week we always look at what you've been up to. Times Radio on Tuesday, talking about the Green Party leadership results. What are you making of that? Because there's quite a lot of talk around the new guy. Whether he's more your flavour. What do you make of it? And anything on the interview at Times that you want to reference?
Yeah, do you know what? The Times interview was fabulous. I was in the car park of a pub waiting to watch Forest Green live on my laptop. I'd had a pint. It was raining. But this topic is something that I really want to talk about. The interviewers were brilliant. There was two of them, a man and a woman. Forget the names, apologies for that. But we explored the themes of what is a populist, what is a green populist, what is this all about? What does politics look like in our country now that the Greens have elected a populist leader? And I really enjoyed it. I got to say at the start, look, green populism comes out of my book 5 years ago. Zack Polanski, is it Polanski?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have been the other Zack. Anyway, when I first read about him in The Guardian a couple of months ago, he quoted from my book, basically. He calls himself an eco-populist, but he's a green populist. And I was just like, look, I'm really pleased to see it happen because as the leader of a party now, and he's picked up green populism, he understands it. He gets it. When you listen to him talk, he properly embodies what it is to be a green populist. And the guy on the panel was like, surely he's just a left-wing populist because he wants to leave NATO and all that kind of stuff. He's just like Jeremy Corbyn. And I thought that's a fair point. Those are left-wing populist policies, but actually he's got green ones as well. And so we just explored the universe of politics and populism. And a lady on the panel said, but doesn't populism devalue everything? I thought it was a brilliant question. I don't think it does. I think in this world of shrinking attention spans, populism speaks to that need. Look, don't take forever to tell me this. Just wrap it up in a bundle I can chew and throw it at me. That's what it's about. Got to the end of the interview. Most amusingly for me, she asked me a great question. And they said, oh, sorry, we have to go. We're going to Donald Trump right now. And I'm like, I've been trumped by Trump.
You've been trumped by Trump. I mean, this is the greatest outrage.
That's outrageous.
In living memory, frankly, Dale. So you were about to speak and Trump usurped you.
Yeah, and there's no doubt he wasn't going to say anything as remotely as useful or truthful or logical as I was about to say. But and it's worth pivoting to this perhaps, he'd disappeared. 6 days he'd been without being in the public eye. And that's probably why Times Radio was super excited. He was talking live somewhere and they're like, oh, we're going to cut to Donald Trump now. Because the man's alive. And the internet has been awash with rumors that he's either dead
They were saying dead. That Trump was dead. I
Yeah,
read
well,
this. I thought I'm going to get called into work early today.
dead or dying,
Don
right?
was dead.
And while one part of me thought, look, that's karma and that's fine. And he's quite old anyway, so there's no tragedy there. And I mean, I was tempted to think it's not a bad thing for the world. The other part of me said, that means J.D. Vance becomes president. And I think that is bad for the world.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? He was in my neck of the woods in the summer.
And mine.
Yes, he was. He must have been looking for me and you, maybe. So that my local landlord in the pub, I'm not kidding you, had him booked in for lunch.
Whoa.
And the Secret Service cool kids went round there the week before and checked it all out. There was helicopters flying over and all sorts of things. And I thought, I've got to go in there, surely, and order myself a sneaky pickled egg. While turns out it didn't show up, so I don't know whether they booked multiple venues.
Yeah, and turn up in one.
Nobody ever knows which one it is. But.
That's a nice idea. He did turn up in the Cotswolds. There were protest groups assembling against him. I thought that was rather cool. Basically they're just saying "F off, we don't want you here," which I think is a fair comment.
Let's talk about you mentioned populism, and I suppose it works both ways, isn't it? It works on the right, and Nigel Farage, Trump would be populist politicians in that respect. But Farage is in the news a lot this week, as is Angela Rayner. Is there a correlation?
Well, there is a link. But actually, you reminded me, what I might need to do is just say, what is green populism? They asked me on Times Radio, and I kind of assume that everybody knows that. But you made a good point there. And it does start with Farage, because in my book, I say, look, on the left or the green side of life, we often communicate in a way that's a little bit dull and a little bit detailed, full of caveats and accuracy. And actually, we need to be a bit more like the Trumps, the Farages, and the Johnsons of this world, in communicating in a simple kind of appealing way, but stopping short of telling lies, which is the quote that Zack picked up and ran with. So a green populist is somebody that speaks like a populist, but on green issues. That maybe that's just a Ron Seal name. I don't know, but anyway, I'll put it out there now.
But you said this a couple of series ago on this podcast that was the bit that was kind of lacking in the sort of the overarching green message, not just the Green Party, but in terms of selling the policy and the environmental kind of agenda and what needs to be done. Yeah. It was always a little bit. If sometimes it was preachy, other times it was, as you say, just a bit dull. And you've kind of managed to sort of peg it in the right place.
Yeah, and I think it's been really impactful. So the Times asked me for an example, Times Radio, and I said, well, look, take net zero, for example. I never talk about net zero anymore, apart from the fact it's been toxified by Farage and Badenoch and other Trump, bless him. I never talk about it. I haven't done for a few years. I actually talk about the green economy. I talk about jobs, economic growth. I talk about cost of living, getting bills down, stuff like that, because that's what we actually get. Forget the net zero part, because that's like it's confusing and distracting, and actually it's been made unappealing. It's like when we said about energy independence. It's not about polar bears and ice caps, about jobs, GDP, being independent from the global fossil fuel system and the roller coaster of pricing that killed us in 2022 and all that kind of stuff. Rather than say, we need to be 100% green energy on the grid, which is what a Green might have said, we need to be energy independent. And that became a theme of Labour's manifesto and campaign and stuff. And it's a cut-through thing. We did surveys and stuff, and something like 60 or 70% of people loved the idea of energy independence. And then when it was explained to them what it was, even more of them loved it.
Yeah.
My point being, it just sounds great. Yeah, energy independence. Why wouldn't you want that?
Well, I say this to guests really regularly, and the China comparison always comes up, and I can talk more about that when interviewing these kind of people, because there's now much more information. And you mentioned about China getting to net zero first, but actually the issue around the kind of energy market, when you say to somebody, even a kind of an obvious right winger who doesn't really delve or dip their toe into this area, you say, okay, so somebody's going to offer you electricity that's cleaner and cheaper. Are you going to take it? Yes or no? Well, there's only one answer to that. It's such a stupid, in a way, it's a stupid question, but it has to be asked, because that is the question that's ultimately at stake here.
That's where we are, isn't it? It's where we are. Now, I've forgotten what I was going to say next, but we could always go back to the reform story, or Farage and Angie.
Well, Angie, what's the deal with Angie then? Angie and Farage.
Well, Farage came to her rescue this week, or so it seemed, speaking out in public. Let's start with what he was rescuing her from. She got himself into a pickle over tax on her 2 homes. She bought one in Brighton earlier this year, I think, or something like that. And she'd taken advice, thought she'd done the right thing on tax. Turns out she got new advice from a KC. It's a very senior, expensive level advice that says, actually, your first advice is wrong. That's the story today. And she's referred herself to the standards committee or something in Parliament. But Farage comes out and bless him, he's like, oh, well, do you know what? There's just too much media scrutiny around politicians trying to find fault. They want us all to be vegan and stop drinking beer. And that's not happening here. I thought, bless him. That's a classic Farage quote, right? That's a populist quote. It's brilliant.
That was a great quote.
Yeah. But he probably said it because he's got skeletons in his own closet. He's got an offshore trust somewhere. He probably dodged tax on his second home that he didn't actually buy, that his girlfriend did. I mean, who knows? But
can we just say for legal reasons he didn't do any of that?
I did say probably. Let's say possibly, or
hypothetically, I think you're right. The overarching point that you're making is that if Reform are on target to increase their seats at the next election significantly, there's going to be a lot of new faces suddenly show up, and this question of scrutiny is going to be plaguing the House of Commons. I mean, right across parties. So I guess there is a certain amount of buying yourself an insurance policy by not being the one that condemns. And some people have said Angela's problem is that she did a lot of condemning of this in the past.
Yes.
And now she finds herself in the same position.
No, I see that. The takeaway for me was, you're in trouble when Nige rides to the rescue.
Yeah, that's
But actually, go on.
Well, they might be seen out having a pint together, Angie and Farage. I can genuinely see them getting on.
A pint and a fag. I could see it too.
There was an interesting story this week that actually did merge Reform and Trump on that big issue of free speech. I don't know if you saw this, but there was one local council that banned some journalists from going to their meetings because they'd said something unfavorable or something like that. Yeah. And then over in America, Donald Trump suddenly out of nowhere says, if you burn the American flag, you're going to go to jail for a year.
Wow. Oh, well, I hadn't heard that, but I'd seen the banning of the media organization up north somewhere, and I posted about it. I just thought it was it was classically from the school of Trump. This is Farage. Right. He's a bit of a mini-me Trump, really. Trump doesn't like some news outlets, so he bans them from White House briefings. I mean, how undemocratic is that? This is a county council up north of our country, and Reform are using the same tactic against one outlet. What are they going to do if they win the election? I mean, God only knows. But it's worse than that, because Farage is in America today, and he's been giving evidence to a committee of, I don't know, twats, let's say. Maybe I won't say that.
That's the official name, I think.
He's been giving evidence to a committee of, I don't know, senators or whatever it is about stuff. And he's slagging off Britain for being a country that doesn't have free speech anymore. So hold that thought for a second, because it's a little bit ironic when you, back in Britain, are banning media outlets from receiving press releases from the council and stuff like that. So it's like, he's a hypocrite, but we know that. And then he's lobbying America actually to impose trade sanctions on our country in order to bring back free speech, which hasn't gone anywhere. It's still here, except if you're in the orbit of Reform. And I have a story there as well, actually. I'm going to go to the Reform conference on Friday this week.
Whoa. Hang on a second. You're going to the Reform conference?
Yes.
Did they invite you? What's the deal here?
I'm having a ball this week. I'm celebrating Zack's win. I think it's really exciting. It's shaking up politics in our country. And I'm going to try and go to the Reform conference. But all I wanted to do was, go in there, have a discussion, talk about net zero. Do you know what I mean? Bring a little bit of a different argument to the people there. I've been banned.
What?
Yeah, they won't let me in. That's how much they stand up for free speech in our country. They won't let me into their conference.
So were you intending to just kind of jump on a soapbox in the foyer and start saying stuff? Or were you going to book a room or a session?
I was going to attend as what do they call them, delegates or something like that. I'm not really sure. And just, I've been to the Tory conference before, as you know, a couple of years running.
Times, yeah.
I mean, they made it hard one year. They took my booking online, then they must have read my name and then deleted it. But I got in eventually with the help of the editor of the Express and stuff like that. But it's a funny thing. I just want to go there. And they've said, no, you can't come. So I'm going anyway. and I'm going to stand outside with a. No, I'm not. I'm just going to stand outside, talk to the media, shoot some videos, and talk about the fact that this is the freedom-loving Reform Party, right?
It's interesting because you've had run-ins with Farage and Richard Tice, but ultimately, when you've met these, you've gone on rather well with them. It's not like you've wanted to fight each other or throw bricks at each other's heads.
Yes.
So it would be perfect in a way. Maybe they think
so.
you're going to just cause trouble.
Yeah, maybe.
Perish the thought, Dale.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I get on with all of them, and that's the way it is. But maybe it's somebody at a different level of the organization sees me differently and thinks, oh shit, we can't have him here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go. And I did think about reaching out to Richard Tice and saying, hey, Dickie, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on? And then I thought, who cares? I'll probably have more fun on the outside than on the inside.
Yeah, you might well get an invite if you personalized it, but who knows? Maybe there's some currency in being outside and just chatting to people.
Yeah. Maybe, vox popping a few of the people going in and out.
Yeah, maybe you should give away a copy of your book to the first person who walks past and goes, "Who cut your hair?"
Or I just give a copy of my book to everybody that walks past.
That's a good point.
I might do that. It. Nice one. There must have been something else on our little list.
There's a lot on our little list. We didn't mention
Kemi.
Politics Joe, did we?
No, we didn't. Oh, Kemi. She's on the list.
We've got Kemi. Should we do Politics Joe or Kemi first?
Oh, that's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough. Politics Joe versus Kemi.
You choose.
Kenny. Let's do Kemi because I think this is quite a pretty delicious story.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful story. So it turns out over a number of years in the profile interviews she's given, she claimed as a kid in Nigeria, age 16, I think it was, she was so good. She had such great SAT results. Sounds like Donald Trump. My SAT results were so great that so beautiful that Stanford University got in touch and offered her a place to do pre-med and a part bursary, which is funding. And she says, actually, her family were too poor to make up the difference. And that's been the story. And it's a story of I'm a bright person, kind of held back by poverty kind of, story. And then this happens. Up pops a guy that was at Stanford doing admissions 30 years ago. And he says, not only never heard of her, Gov, but never heard of an admission from Nigeria. We never make offers based on SAT results. We invite applications, and we never make partial bursary offers either. We make full ones only, and we don't have a pre-med course. I mean, what the is there anything that she said that he hasn't just smashed to pieces?
And you wouldn't be offered this at 16 either.
No, it's just
the whole thing looks like a load of, as my old nan would say, what a load of bollocks. But the most interesting part of the story, because you rightly say, and the journalist that was uncovering this didn't just do it over the course of a couple of hours and spoke to a bloke on the phone. There was a lot of work went into this, multiple sources. This guy, even though it was 30 years ago, knew the system. So he knew that forget the individual. He knew that, as you rightly said, that they wouldn't, very few women were admitted that year or offered anything, certainly none from Nigeria. These are kind of really important markers that he remembers. But when they confronted the Tory leader or the Conservative Central Office, they just stood by the story. They just said, no, that did happen. I mean, what do you do with that?
And I'm staggered because he also said we never make offers based on SATs. We invite applications, and we never make partial bursary offers.
So that's it, really, isn't it? So she's not just scupping on one thing. There's about five things.
The only part of that story that I think stands up is that she was in Nigeria.
Yes, she was in Nigeria, and I'm pretty sure as a 16-year-old, she probably wanted to do some pre-med course at a university. I don't dispute that was her desire. There's a big difference between what you were thinking and dreaming laid in bed as a mid-teenager and what actually freaking happened.
And her response was to say, oh, well, what about Rachel Reeves? She's got holes in her CV. Why are you looking at mine and not hers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she said an awful lot about Rachel's CV, and here we are again in that same territory where be careful. Back to Nigel Farage. That's why he's saying, don't get into this stuff because otherwise someone's going to come and bite you on the ass.
Which is why I think politicians today are so reluctant to say anything about anything.
Yeah. They're
You know,
scared.
they just won't give an answer like a yes or a no.
Politics Joe.
Yeah. Great fun with Ava. She's always fun to talk to. It was this week.
She was my producer once, you know.
I didn't know that.
She was, yeah.
No, I didn't know that. And I forget what we talked about now. But we talked about green stuff, green populism. We talked about all kinds of stuff. And maybe you know more than I know.
What you talked about?
Yeah, it's not on the list, is it?
It's not on the list.
I'm supposed to remember.
Yeah, well, I think we can safely say you talked about stuff. And Politics Joe is interesting because it has got a lot of momentum online, and it's a digital network, and it's got big following and all the rest of it, and it's a kind of another voice in that space, isn't it? That does punch above its weight.
That's coming back to me now. We talked about Musk. I think she was trying to kind of needle me into reaction. She's like, Elon Musk, he's setting up a power company here. Why would you be against that? If he can help us get to 100% green energy, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, why would you be against that, Dale?
Well, I pointed out that actually he's not coming here to build stuff. He's coming here to sell stuff that already exists. That's what suppliers do. They buy and sell energy. He's not coming here to build our way to 100%. He's coming here to take part. And look, I don't really care about that, but I pointed out that 8,000 people have objected in writing to Ofgem. It's unprecedented. It's never happened before. He wants a license from Ofgem, and 8,000 people and another 40,000 signed a petition. All of this was last week, last time I checked. They're saying we don't want that quit here, not literally, but more or less.
That written on the petition.
She's like, why wouldn't you work with him? I'm like, well, he'd rip me off for one thing, based on previous experience.
I was going to say you've got previous, you two.
Got previous, and it ended like she was. I could see she was watching, waiting, like prodding me. Come on, and I'm like, and anyway, he's just a massive twat, isn't he? And she went. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's on the clip, but she loved it. I loved it. And I think, that was one big segment. I'm sure green populism was another big one. Donations has been coming up this week as well, actually. I've been talking about being a donor and stuff like that in the media. I think that came up. Somebody asked me, and it might have been Ava, would I now donate to the Green Party and to Labour? But it might have been the Times Radio people. And it was funny passage of words, because I was like, well, I have no idea. It's only just happened. I haven't actually thought about it.
That's true.
And they were like, but would you? I'm like, well, like I said, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. It's only just happened. And they're like, oh, but if an email came in asking you, would you? I'm like, come on.
Yeah, well, the push for Polanski.
Give me a break here.
It's
Roman Polanski I was getting mixed up with.
Yeah, no one wants to be mixed up with him, really. There's a whole other litany of horrors, but for many different reasons, I think. Yeah. None to do with windmills. Maybe they were.
None to do. Anyway, I'm stopping there. What we got next?
Well, before we go on to football, because then we got some questions, some great questions. We should give an update, really, on the Stroud flag, I think.
Oh, yeah. We have a flagpole. And that's That's a written joke. It doesn't work phonetically, because it's a...
You had a flagpole.
We had a poll, an opinion poll taken over the flag.
Right.
So we now have a flagpole. The flag itself is hanging on the building. It doesn't need a poll. But we took a poll because the Telegraph, it was 10 days ago now, they sent some people to Stroud, journalists, one journalist, one photographer, with the mission to find dissent. I know this because I met them in a cafe in Stroud that I frequent amongst my friends, Stroudies that feel the same way. And I'm like, blimey, you came to the wrong place. You're looking for.
So you were there. You and the Stroud Massive were sitting there having a chai latte and a muffin, and suddenly a couple of Telegraph journalists.
A very whole wheat worthy muffin, of course.
Of all the places they could have gone to, they went to the place you're having a. It
made me laugh. But the guy, I know him. He's a freelance. I've done stuff with him before. So he set off around town trying to find dissent. And he said he was struggling. But anyway, the story came out, and Stroud is divided. There's a bitter row, all this kind of stuff, right-wing stuff. The Times picked it up. It got picked up by other media. Social media picked it up. It became a bit of a pylon. And at the end of it, I was getting physical threats online because of this flag I'm flying and the idea that the town is split and it's bitter and divided and horrible. So we're like, all right, we'll have a poll. Yeah. So we got a poll for the flag that didn't need a flagpole, if you're with me.
No, it was a pole.
It's a building flag. It doesn't need a pole. Anyway, and it said 60% of people in Stroud support my right to fly the flag, come what may. Whatever they think about anything else, they say, yeah, he's got the right to fly the flag. If you ask them, do they support or don't care about the flag and the cause. 2/3. So 2/3 of Stroud either support me or don't give a shit. Yeah. Is the bottom line of the poll. Anyway, so we wrote a little piece for this on social media. We've done a lovely little cartoon, actually. But anyway, just to say, look, it's a great example of how the right wing can manipulate public opinion, twist facts, create their own story that then grows arms and legs, turns into a social media pylon with threats of violence. And it's all based on a fake story.
Yeah.
It's just a fake story.
It doesn't actually exist.
No, Stroud is not divided. It's not bitter. Stroud supports the idea of flying this flag and thinks, there should be a Palestinian state and all of that kind of stuff, which is where the country is. Most people in our country say, yes, two-state solution. Israel has gone too far. We need to do something about it. So, but the right-wing press, of course, don't support that narrative.
Let's then, Dale, on that profound point, move to football.
We can do. My lights just came on.
Because there's a lot to be said about football this season over there at Forest Green Rovers. What's going on? Who put the booster rockets on?
It's Robbie Savage, isn't it? Our new manager joined us just before the start of the season. He's transformed the club. He's transformed the way we play football. I mean, it's fantastic, exciting, non-stop, breathless football. We played 7 games. We're top of the league, 2 points clear. But more than that, he's brought young players from 2 leagues below us, and they're fallen straight into this league, and they're amongst our best players. He's unified the club, the staff, the players, the fans. It's just incredible. Compared to the guy we had in last, there's like a universe of difference. And football has become fun again, which is what I said at the very beginning of his recruitment. I said to the media, all I want is fun, right? If we get promoted or not, that'll come, whatever. Let's have the fun back in football. Jesus, I didn't think it would be this much fun.
That's brilliant. I didn't. Yeah, there's no need for despondency over there at FGR. I mean, man alive, this is, I know it's early days, but this looks really promising, Dale.
It does. It's so exciting to watch.
Should we put a couple of, just as a final, a couple of X-rated corner questions in for you, Dale?
I think if we didn't, I'd be disappointed.
Yeah.
And if there's not one about my hair, well, I'm off.
Well, let's find out, shall we? The Amorphic Baron says, why are you such a sad bastard? I don't know quite why he says that. But look, this one from Nud says, you still here? You should be in Gaza. Not quite sure why.
and there's definitely one that mentions my haircut. There is. I saw it.
Hang on. Here he comes now. From Samuel Weeps, who says, oh dear, Mr. Vince. You really are getting desperate. As you know, it's all over for you in 4 years' time. The person you should actually be angry with is your barber.
That was it. That was it. Waiting for that. So look, first off, I'm not very sad. Right, to answer the first one.
Very happy. It's the happiest I've seen you for a long time, Dale.
Oh, yeah. I think I was having a month off for you, probably. But
yeah, indeed. That tends to have that effect. Nobody would argue.
I had a good old laugh in Cornwall and stuff like that. But look, I'm a barber. I need to find him, right? I am in need of a haircut. But anyway, all this kind of stuff. All of these questions came in response to some social media work we did around reform. And I think it was banning that newspaper up north. I think it was about that. So what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Anyway, I don't need to go to Gaza because Greta, am I her big sister? I think it's that way around. According
something
to
like that.
She's on her way to do it on behalf of the family.
That's right.
She's in the convoy.
Yeah. We will report back on this. Meantime, Dale, that's it for this episode.
That was quick, wasn't it? Or maybe it wasn't.
It was a beauty, an absolute beauty. It was a peach of an episode, although I think others could be the judge of that. But we will speak in a week, Dale.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. There's so much to say.
Yeah. So, and we got more to come in the next episode. And of course, in the meantime, you can follow Dale on social media, facebook.com/DaleVince, x.com/DaleVince, and still doing it and rocking it on TikTok too.
And of course, the Times and the Telegraph too. I just got to give a shout out to those guys. They can't leave me alone.
It's a beautiful thing.
I love it though.